Hey guys, how's it going? SEAASER here, and today I'm going to be showing you guys my picks for the top 10 base locations on Valguero. Do keep in mind some of these base locations are going to be unbuildable on official. I show the ones that are unbuildable on official by trying to place a foundation and it won't let me. These are still good base locations though that I want to show you guys because a lot of people are playing on unofficial servers that allow different building rules than official servers. So starting with the number 10 spot, we have the Green Obelisk Cave. Now, a lot of people do know about this cave location, so I wouldn't call it hidden or anything by any means. When the servers first came out, it was relatively unknown, which allowed people to build up. But at this point in time, with its, proximity to the obelisk and the amount of space that you have, people tended to build pretty big, and it made it very well known. I've known a few different tribes who've built in this cave, and it's pretty versatile in the different kinds of builds that you can accomplish within it. It is, a cave that has the 6 times damage, so you are going to have to be careful about that. Offline raiding is going to be a bit of a pain. But as far as an online raid, this cave is probably one of the better ones. It does have an opening big enough to where people could push in. I think maybe even paracers. I don't think rock golems can walk through there, but I'm not 100% sure. Either way, it's a pretty narrow passage with a pretty far line of sight to like your main base turrets, which would be pushed way in the back. So an online raid should be fairly simple as long as you have like Therazinos and Gigas and things like that, maybe even a mech to use, to keep people pushed back. One of the big draws for this base location is the size, and of course its proximity to the obelisk, which makes it a prime location for being able to run the bosses, and also once transfers open up in October, for being able to transfer between the official servers. So the only thing that I would be worried about maybe in the future is the water that leads into the cave. At the current moment, it does not function as regular water. You can't drink it, you can't place rafts in it. However, that is, subject to change at any time. It could be a bug. So if that does change in the future and you're able to place rafts, then you need to build this properly so that people aren't able to use rafts to raft raid you. But, other than that, guys, the only other thing that I'd worry about is maybe not keep your turrets, too close to the entrance, because like I said, with the 6 times damage, foundations get blown in 1 C4, turrets will get blown up in 1 rocket, and you'll get pretty much your whole death wall flak ran if you don't build this properly. I'm sure there's loads of builds on how to do this online. You can look up, videos and stuff on that. That's not really my forte, but yeah. That's my pick for the number 10 spot, guys, and let's move on to the next spot. Alright, so with the number 9 base location, this spot, just like the last one, is a cave, so it will take 6 times damage. It's located at 4791. It's a little bit hard to show where it is, so I do a nice little flyby outside to show you guys that. But as you can see, the foundation blows in 1 go, so you are going to want to be careful. This is a much smaller spot than the previous one. Again, the water here is a little bit buggy. It doesn't actually act as water. You can just kind of walk through it, and I'm pretty sure you can even fly teams through it. So that will probably get fixed in the future, but at the moment you want to keep that in mind because it is going to affect the way that you build it. Like I said, do a little flyby on the outside so you guys can see what the area looks like, so you know what to look for. When you're coming in, you're going to be at around like 4691, and then you want to just go straight down and into the area. It is not the biggest place, so I'd say it's only really suitable for like a solo, maybe a duo tribe. I wouldn't say it's like an actual base spot for a 6-man, but it would be serviceable, especially on an unofficial server where you have the ability to place structures like inside of walls with the S+ mod or things like that. Alright, so this next location is at 4820. It's a little bit hard to see if you don't know what you're looking for, so make sure that you guys pay attention to what the surrounding area looks like. And look for that little like crack in the wall. So this is what everybody calls oil cave for obvious reasons, once we're inside. I think this is probably up there in the top 3 like best spots to build. This list isn't in any particular order except for the last location, which I do believe is the strongest on Valguero. But this one I would say is at least top 3 of all base locations I've seen so far. That tiny little opening that you come into that leads into this massive cave means that it's going to be extremely hard to online, if not impossible, as long as the defending tribe knows what they're doing and even offlining is going to be a pain because you can't even walk a trike through that small narrow passageway without using cryopods. So if built correctly with proper turret coverage, it's going to be very hard to raid this cave. The resources inside are also good. I mean, I doubt that you'll find any official servers where there isn't a tribe built in here, but if you're on an unofficial and you need early game oil or metal, it's a pretty good spot. I would honestly build in this spot if I had the chance to, even as a solo player. If you're like on an unofficial with like really boosted rates, you can lock down this hallway so easily. And the only thing that I think is a little bit off is with my graphics settings, it makes it to where I can't really see out of the cave at all or into the cave. So I think maybe keeping the distance shadows off or something like that might help with that. But it is a cave, so remember guys, it is going to have the 6 times damage as well. GPS cords again. And yeah, I don't have the marker on my map on single player, so we actually don't have the map marker for you, but yeah, it's at 4819, 4820 in that area. Just look for the little like hole in the wall and you should be able to find it no problem. Now this next base location is what I would call the triple waterfall cave. Now there is more than 3 waterfalls, but as far as the main 3 entrances, there's 3 waterfalls. I wouldn't necessarily rate this as high as some of the other caves, even though it's a really big cave. The reason that I would rate it a little bit lower, even if you are a huge tribe, is just for the very like massive amount of entrances that there is. On this level that I'm at here, and as you can see the cords are 3310, this level that I'm at here, there's an entrance at each waterfall. Then on the inside there's an entrance from the sunken ocean, and then up top there's I think 2 or 3 more entrances covered by waterfalls. So even though the area inside here is just massive and there's so much like crystal and metal, and you could technically leave this part where the crystal and metal is relatively untouched so that you could farm it as a tribe, the entrance like down in the ocean, you'd have to like spam with Tusos, and then you'd have to like probably sacrifice turrets for velos just to cover the majority of these entrances. I guess you could bottleneck this one here because there is, you know, it goes 2 entrances into 1, but it's just so many entrances that I genuinely don't think that like it's one of the better spots to build, especially since even on these outside parts, the area still has 6 times damage, so your stuff's gonna get rocket ran. It's not exactly small entrances either, so people can push things like pararacers in, rock elementals. So I would say this is definitely a solid spot, but it's only the spot that I would go to with a big tribe if the other like better spots were taken. The spot that I'm going to show at the end of the list is probably the best to go to. If that one's taken, I go to Oil Cave, and then this would be like my 3rd backup as far as big tribe spots. This spot way in the back is, you know, a big area to build, so if you do have a massive tribe with like no offline gap, especially on servers that allow alliances like normal official, this isn't actually even that far from Oil Cave, so you could have an allied base right there that's able to, you know, come and assist you if you do get attacked. So that is something to think about. But with a lot of people that watch my channel playing on like MTS or small tribes, I don't think that this is really a spot that you guys would want to go to straight away unless it's like the only option of the big spots that you have left. It does leave a lot of room for you to build, and it has a lot of resources, so if you build it correctly and section certain areas off without putting too much spam, you could farm inside of your base, but you do have to pay attention to that underground water entrance and the 5 additional waterfall entrances. So yeah, that's gonna do it for this spot, guys. Let's move on to the next one. Yeah. So for this next spot, the base cords are going to be 40.4, about 90. So I'd say like 40-90. And you guys might know this spot if you watch Blur. He did have an online base defense against G Unit on MTS here. I don't think that this spot's necessarily bad. I think it might actually even be a little bit stronger than the triple waterfall cave. There were some things that I didn't like about it, but it is still a pretty solid base location. I would say it's at least in the top 4 best like large base locations on the map. It is limited to only 2 entrances, so you have that entrance that I came in at the bottom, and then you have that entrance at the top. The reason that I'm not a huge fan of this spot is just that the entrance at the top is a little narrow, so it doesn't really allow you to freely move your dinos in and out. So unless you're at a point where you already have tech teleporter, which I know a lot of the established tribes do, but if you're a newer player that's playing on like a fresh unofficial server, or you find a server that's unofficial that's empty with this spot, getting teams in and out, you're basically going to have to be reliant on cryopods. Anything bigger than like, you know, a Therizino. It is still a fairly large spot though, and it does only have those 2 entrances. It is a cave. All the caves on here, they were actually pretty good about making sure that they have the 6 times damage. So this one does, you know, 6 times damage, foundation blows in 1c4. Now with the other entrance that I came in originally, I do know that there are some cheeky spots where a tech toppy can shoot out your turret towers if you're not careful. So I just want to make sure that you guys are aware that like the angles here are not the best for defending, because you're able to like soak from high up above, and then you can get like some weird angles and stuff. But other than that, it's still a pretty solid base location. So, and now we're coming to the first location that is not buildable on official, but if you're an unofficial player, this is a great starting location right here in the White Cliffs biome. I think it might also be called the Chalk Hills biome. I always call it the White Cliffs. I think technically in-game this particular part is called the Sky Guard. This spot's really good because it's right near a lot of metal, crystal, obsidian, and a lot of like red drops that come down. This is one of the areas that I lived during my MTS series on Valguero. Unfortunately, I can't show you guys, you know, how to build here, because with the server settings that I have for my single player world, it follows the same rules as official, so you can't build here on single player or official, but you can build here on unofficial. I had a base in here, it was fine. Just to check and see, I threw down a C4, and it wasn't 6 times on MTS, and it's not 6 times on the outside, so it's not the biggest area, but it will allow you to build a little spot just for your little solo base. Now this area here at 9173, I would say it's buildable unofficial and not buildable at the same time, if that makes sense. You are able to build here, however you're limited in the amount of space that you have to build. Where that foundation is that I first placed, that's the limit of how far back you can build. You can build anywhere farther towards the cliff edge than that, but you can't build any farther back. I'm not sure exactly what the reason for that is. I think it's to prevent meshing because it is kind of close to the terrain. But on unofficial, you're going to be able to build farther back because different server settings and things. Even on official, it's still not too bad. I mean, you could have like dinos put back there for breeding and then just put your turrets and stuff in the front. And aside from having a desert titan thrown at your base, it's going to be pretty difficult for people to, you know, actively raid this spot because of how like high up it is and tucked away it is. I guess they could use Quetzals with rock elementals, but those are pretty easy to counter online, so it's not like super, you know, worrisome. You do have full building up until you get like right to the wall on all of these side platforms as well, so you could put like turret towers up here as well and spam that out, make sure that people can't build there, so that'd probably be a bad place to have somebody able to put a fob. But I do think this spot's actually relatively strong, more of like a medium-sized tribe spot. I could see this being used on small tribes, or on MTS it was actually a spot that lasted pretty long. And as you can see, it doesn't have 6 times damage, so that's good too. So again, the chords are 9173 for that spot, and let's move on to the next one. Alright, so this next spot is not buildable on official, it's just for unofficial. There is like no area that I was able to get a cliff plat down. It's at 37.4, 16.2. You can't put any foundations down on single player, so I'm not able to show you, but you can imagine how strong it would be for a solo player starting out on an unofficial, especially since not very many people are going to know about it. I do know that Six Shadows did highlight this spot in one of his videos, but aside from that, I've never really seen anybody build there. I guess somebody might have built there on MTS, I'm not sure, I didn't go over this way, but it's a pretty cheeky spot, and if you just had like one hatch frame of turrets hanging down, it's going to be a pretty difficult spot to raid out, especially online, because you're going to be able to just peek down and shoot them off of whatever tame they're riding, unless they try and like push up a pair racer, then you could just change your turret range or something like that. I don't even know if you could walk up there, to be honest, so I think it's a pretty strong spot, more for like a solo or duo. But I mean, this is as near as I could check for the, you know, damage, and it didn't have 6 times on the outside, so I wouldn't assume that it would have 6 times on the inside. It's not an intended build zone, those normally don't have 6 times damage. This next spot is actually the spot that Six Shadows built in originally on his Valguero series. It's not buildable at all on official, and it most likely will get patched eventually. I see this as like a mesh light type hole, similar to some of the ones that I saw in Aberration back in the day. It is located right next to the blue ob, and its chords are about 427. But if you go from the blue ob, it's pretty easy to find. All you have to do is just aim towards that little crack right there, and you should be able to find it fairly easily, as you know, as long as it hasn't been patched, guys. Like I said, this is probably one of those spots that's going to get patched sooner than later. I don't think that it's high on their priority list because you can't build on official, but unofficial, this is like nearly unraidable if you build it right. You'll see as you walk in, once you reach a certain point, you have to crouch to be able to enter. And so all you realistically need to do is put a handful of turrets watching that peak hole, and there's not a whole lot people can do. It isn't the biggest space, but again, since you're only able to build there on unofficial servers anyways, you're probably going to be able to like put your crafting areas and stuff into the walls, so you'll have a lot more space once you're in there. And near as I can tell, it's not 6 times damage because again, it's not a buildable area on official. And this is it, boys. This is what I consider to be the best spot in the entire map. It is in the aberrant zone, located at about 2481 on the inside, and on the outside I'll highlight where those chords are as well because it's pretty big. You would think an area like this would have 6 times damage, but it doesn't. You can build pretty much anywhere where you have flat ground to stand on. You're right next to the like world border at the top of Aberration, and this spot's pretty insane. I mean, I could see maybe a Titan would be an issue here, but short of that, I don't really know how somebody would go about raiding this because it's so high up. There's no flying in here. Maybe gas bags, but if you have it built correctly, I mean, I don't know, guys. This seems like one of the strongest spots on the whole map. In my opinion, it is the strongest spot. You can place cliff platforms pretty much anywhere where there's walls to connect them to, and it's like so multi-layered. You have like this, the area that I started in is actually completely concealed by the leaves and things, so some people might not even know that your base is there as long as you don't have turrets and stuff on the outside. Then you have this first landing area when you come into the tree, and again, it's all buildable, none of it's 6 times damage, lots of room. You can put cliff platforms pretty much anywhere where you can see a like wall, and I mean, in all honesty, it's one of those spots that you're gonna see a tribe built on nearly every single official server. Most of the videos that I've seen so far for base locations have highlighted this spot, and I can totally understand why once I got into the game and checked it out for myself. I'm going to go outside and show you guys what the chords are from the outside. So on the outside, you're looking at about, I'd say like 27, let me see, about 2780. And if you look to the right, that's where you come down from the entrance near the castle. And yeah, it's like not too far from the like entrance. It's near like the castle in the snow where you have to jump down to get into the aberrant area, and then you just come right over here and fly up into this tree. Once you're inside, you can do whatever you want with the space, really. I mean, I would probably have like a lot of turrets covering the main area so that people can't get up, and then have it spammed out really well. Probably have a lot of velos so that people can't make too much progress in, and then I would have it broken up and then have another like slot cap of turrets right somewhere in here so that people can't get to where my main base would be, which is up at the top. And I mean, literally, this space just goes on forever. This whole area here, I didn't even see anybody show this in the other videos that I saw, and it's like a whole nother base location. If you're on like a server with alliances, you could have an ally literally living here and have overlapping like turret coverage. I mean, obviously turret coverage can't overlap like it used to, but you could have it to where, like, you know, you don't have to farm another 100 turrets to put over there because you have an allied base over there. It's just truly one of the most massive spots that I've seen, and the fact that you can build there and that it's not 6 times is pretty insane, guys. So yeah, that's gonna wrap things up for this video, guys. If there's any spots that you know of on Valguero that I missed, make sure to let me know down in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.